Well, I'm Marcus Johnson, live in New York City, Harlem. Been living up here over 30 years now, and it's just different. I'm a Jersey boy, grew up in Jersey, went to Juilliard, studied classical dance, then afterwards, passenger in a motor vehicle accident, and led me to a life of advocacy and living with a spinal cord injury. Um, Not much more to add to that. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into more as the conversation progresses, but I like to say I've been very blessed in having people around me that supported me. And definitely one of them is my home care worker, Katubu Diaby, that's been with me for 30 years now.
For those who don't know, my name is Jose Hernandez, and I experienced a spinal cord injury back in 1995, close to 28 years ago when I was 15 years old. And, likewise, I've had many people come in and out of my life, but, the most impactful was Fausto Romero. He was with me for 12 years and most likely would have been with me right now if not for his tragic loss at the beginning of the pandemic. But before we get into that, how about you tell me, if you remember, how you initially met your aide?
Oh, that, Jose, I can tell you off the back. When I first got injured, I was 20 years old. I was 20 years old. I actually spent 1 year in the hospital at St. Vincent's Hospital, which is unheard of nowadays after spinal cord injury. And then I went 3 months in Philadelphia at McGee Rehab, right? And after those 3 months, I moved right into Harlem, into my own place, because I know as people inaccessible as New York can be, you don't even want to know about New Jersey. So I moved into New York, and then I didn't have consumer direction care at that time. I had traditional home care services, 2 times 12, and it was just so disrespectful. And they were just sending random workers into my home, not knowledgeable of how to utilize a Hoyer lift. And they were like almost scared to touch me. And I'm just like, clean me like you would clean yourself. And if that's how you would clean yourself, I need somebody else in my home. Sending nurses into my home without even notifying me. So when I finally, the way I moved to consumer direction is when they sent Katubu Diaby into my home. And when he came in to assist me, it was a day where, of course, me using condom catheter, the worker didn't put it on right. And I told her it's not right. And I was just soaking in urine, just sitting in my chair, soaking urine, crying. And when he walked in, language, couldn't speak language too well. He speaks fluent French, as well as his other dialects from his country. And he just reached right in and he was like, we're going to handle this. We're going to work this. And that's how I first met him. And after that point, to see that somebody could be that comfortable with me, that didn't look at me anything less, where he felt that he could learn as much from me as I could from him. That's how I first met him. And ever since then, we've been in each other's lives ever since that moment.
That's crazy. Um, I met Fausto, completely by accident, right? Um, I was already in the consumer directed program, and the aide that I had initially, he was going on vacation. And when my aides go on a vacation, they usually go for a month. They go to their country, spend time with their family. Sometimes they have wives and kids over there, so they take their time and they really spend their time with their family. So unfortunately, he gave me a date that he was supposed to come back, um, and he didn't. But before that, he had introduced me to Fausto and said, "Hey, Fausto, are you willing to cover the month while I'm away?" And I remember vividly, I went to meet him at a church near his mother-in-law's house, which was a couple of blocks from actually my house. So we spoke, and he worked with me for the first month. And at the time, I had a live-in case. Imagine that, 24 hours, one person. So he worked with me 4 days a week. Then my aide that was supposed to come back never did. So I was kind of in a tough situation because I didn't have any other additional coverage, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to take the job on permanently?" And from there on, we became tight and more like family. So just to touch back on that, tell me what was the most, well, besides that very powerful story that you gave, that where he came in and it's like, something, we're going to take care of you. We're going to make sure that you're okay. What are some of the other memories that you have with him that stand out where, it was like, wow, he really cares about me and the job?
It I can say he cares because he always pushed me to be more. And then at times would doubt it, like, you think you can do that? And I say it in this preference where after my injury, all three of my degrees I have achieved post. So I have a bachelor's and I have two master's degrees. And my first master's degree is in rehab counseling from New York University. So after that first master's degree, um, when I was going for my second one at Fordham in social work, he was like, "You think you can do it? You think you can do it?" Now I don't believe he was doubting me at all, but he was just saying, "How much more can you achieve in this level of disability?" He wouldn't use it in that terminology, but he sees that and understands what I'm up against because when I go out into the field, I'm sure you can reference this to Jose, where you get where those in the environment, they're speaking to him and not to me. And he always had the sense, other than the language barrier, to go, Marcus is sitting right there. You can speak to him. And those are the times where I respect him so much, where he goes, speak to Marcus right there. And the other reference is he'll have other people call me in reference to his own house and say, "Oh, speak to Marcus. He'll fill you in more on what he needs to address through me." And I know that's how we're so connected in that way, where we see how each of us come to a joining of, let's use the word intersectionality, of where we intersect, where we are interdependent upon each other. So we are our brother's keeper. And that's where I see those moments of he truly respects me in that way, where he can looks to me. But I always let him know that I know he's always been there for me, even after 30 years. And believe me, we have some about our arguments. I'm sure you can tell some stories about arguments too. But I mean, we go at it. Go at it. Where
But y-
afterwards, I have to apologize. I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't have said that.
but that's what happens when we become like family.
Yes.
With my aide, I used to go to his house. I had to live in, so um, I didn't have a job at the time. So to make it easier and to be conscious of his time as well, I would go over to his house and spend time there so that he can cook for his wife, cook for his son, and in turn cook for me. You're gonna cook here anyway. So we did the cleaning in the morning and we went over to his house and he did the cooking there so that his family could also share time with him and me. I don't have much family here in New York City. So I became part of the family. I used to uh, help his son with mathematics. Now he's an adult. He was with me for 12 plus years. So he was with me before I had a job, when I got my first job, when I got my driver's license. And he was there for me at the beginning of the pandemic to keep me safe. So, I definitely appreciate him immensely. We advocated in Washington, D.C. We went to Albany. We met, different state senators, and we advocated for each other's rights. And it's that mutual respect that I guess brings us together. It's a completely different field than just regular home care, because regular home care, there's a lot more restrictions and kind of within the training, they already set them. You can't do this, you can't do that. And when you're under the traditional home care model, they kind of dictate how you can live your life. Like one of the reasons why I switched over to this CDPA program is I had a home care agency tell me that my aide was too comfortable and was no longer going to be able to work for you. I was like, excuse me? So let me get this right. Because our relationship is building and he is taking care of me in a way that you feel that is not appropriate because we're more becoming closer, and you're going to tell me that he can't come to work anymore and you're going to send me someone new. I don't like the fact that you're controlling who comes in and out of my house and dictating who gives me care and how they're going to give me the care. Under the CDPA program, I do the hiring, I do the training, and I get personalized care based on my needs. So, and I've been fortunate that I have found some pretty good aides. You know, I have another one that has been with me for 15 years, and he started off by accident. He used to just come up, play video games with um in my house, and all of a sudden he never left. Yeah, he used to do fill-ins every now and then I had another aide who moved on to bigger and better things, which I hope that they all have the opportunity to do and grow and learn from the experience they had with me. And he replaced that aide who took different position to and I owe them a debt of gratitude because without them, and I'm pretty sure you feel the same, without our aides, our PAs, I could not finish college. I could not, continue my day-to-day independence, going to work. I could not be here making this video if they didn't get me up in the morning and make sure that everything was situated. So uh, I think it's just invaluable to have them around, and I'm glad that we are now recognizing their value through the advocacy that we have been pushing, and we're all advocating together to make their lives meaningful and in turn uplifting our own lives. I don't know. What else would you like to share about your aid, or your experiences in the CDPA program?
I want to say I love the word when you use how invaluable. They are just. I like to quote something. I like to say to my clients when I'm working with them to be more of who you are. You have to embrace all of who you are. And I would like to say my assistants from from consumer direction, they them being part of my life has allowed me to be more of who I am. I mean, I keep relationships with many of the young home care workers I've had in the field through consumer direction, and many of them have been from Africa and younger. And in the culture, they'll consider me. They use the terminology "big bro." So big bro, and I've had one of them is a preacher in you know in Alabama now. There's another one that's an IT with a master's degree in Texas now, and they still reach out to me, and we um we talk and feel each other in each other's lives and what's going on. And I remember one year I broken my leg like 3 different times. We don't even get in that conversation. And one of them heard about it in via Facebook, but that's why which I can't stand social media sometimes. I'm like, I didn't announce that. Somebody else said it. He reached out to me and called me from Texas and said, "Big bro, do you need any help? I'll take some time off to come assist you." And the way that made me feel, Jose, that you think of me that much, that you, and he really did. And it just made my heart just, how much do you think of me? But at the same time, I must be not that bad of a person as well. And when also I must add, Jose, when I heard about your PA, passing, I must say my one that's been working with me for 30 years, Javi, 2 or 3 days after the first and the anniversary of COVID, he came down with COVID, and it was heart-wrenching because the brain fog was amazingly so deficit, defeating and limiting him, because I remember going to City MD, and he couldn't even take his shirt off. That's how bad the brain fog was. And the physician there, other than him being amazed at my straw from me driving a sip and puff and bringing me a mask, and oh, I see your mask has a hole in it. I'm like, yeah, because I'm driving a sip and puff. That's why my mask. But I said he was more concerned about my health, and I get it, because having a spinal cord injury, our health is more compromised. But my assistant, Javi, couldn't even dress himself. And I remember taking him to the emergency room. Jose, he was walking like a baby. The brain fog was that bad. And he's there, oh, Marcus, come with me. And he's telling my other assistant, take care of Marcus. I'm like, don't worry about me. Because, they wouldn't let me in the hospital at that point, because we were in the first year of COVID. And by the grace of God, he only had to stay in for 3 days. And but I must say, COVID is real, because he has long COVID, and I still see the deficits from him having COVID. And it doesn't hurt me to go up at a little slower pace with him, because I know he's still taking care of me as I'm taking care of him.
That's just a test to the relationship that you guys have built over 30 years. It's crazy that, he felt comfortable enough for you to ask you to help him the way he has helped you for the last 30 years.
Yes.
That's it's great. Um, so what would you tell someone who is new to the spinal cord injury community about the consumer directed program?
Jose, I would honestly say, we have all these conversations around mentors and mentees, and I would definitely tell someone, the spinal cord injury and consumer direction, speak to someone else, speak to other people receiving the services. Because, Jose, as well as anybody else with consumer direction, it's not always easy finding the match. A lot of people, I'm not saying they can get into the field to make money, but they also need to be a person with the right mindset, as far as, I'm here to assist this person. Because we know with traditional home care services, they come into what the do's and don'ts, what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. And to be perfectly honest, I do not like hiring people that have worked with traditional services, because they have a mindset of what they're not going to do. And I'm like, this is not that type of job. Oh, we can't hang this up. We can't bend over this way to get this for you. And I would, tell them, speak to other people that have the services, that utilize the services. Speak to individuals with spinal cord injuries that have lived and have different challenges, so you can know what you're in for. Because, I'm, as a mentor, I do not like to sugarcoat with newly spinal cord injured individuals. And I'm not there to put fear in their heart as well. But I also want them to know, this is what you're up against. This is a new way of life. This is a life that we would not wish on our worst enemy. Sometimes I do. But, depending on the day, But I would definitely, tell them, listen, you need to speak to other people that are living the life, that have experience, because I want you to know it's going to be challenging.
I agree, and I still would also tell them that it's probably one of the more fulfilling things that you can do, because once you have a good establishment, you don't have that revolving door. Because with the traditional home care, you can have just one person here um one day and not the next, because they have that luxury of just going from one case to another until they find the right case that they're looking for. What makes CDPA unique, and my thought is that you are tailoring the services for you, so the person that you're training is tailored for you and for your services. So they're not looking for that particular case. They already know that they have been trained for that case and for your care. So no, absolutely. I I love the CDPA program, and find organizations like the Consumer Directed Personal Assistance Association of New York State. They have peer mentors, they have resources available to consumers and fiscal intermediaries to help make bridge those connections. Marcus, you said that your PA let you be your whole self. What has that relationship taught you about who you are?
Oh, well, definitely when I was saying my about my whole self is not doubting and questioning every decision I make. Jose, I know you experienced that. I know brothers in the life, where even okay, for example, getting services from vocational rehabilitation services. Oh, but I get assessment tools and what they use for. As a rehabilitation counselor, I know what they use for. But it's our whole life is questioned. Oh, but why do you want to do that? But I've never been questioned so much more in my life until I became a person with a disability. Prior to that, yes, being a man of color, a black gentleman, we're always questioned. We're always looked. Somebody looking over our shoulder, like, what is he in here to steal? Like, what is I did that.
I still get that.
Right, right. So my thing is that he never questions me in that way, where everything is questioned. So he respects my brain, and doesn't look at everything physical on me as being limiting, right? Because when people put limitations on us, that keeps us at an ordinary level, and we're extraordinary, right? We're extraordinary. Don't limit me. Don't make these assumptions. And we know this comes from an ableist world, where they have these perceptions that are impacting our reality, right? Impacting our reality negatively. So I can just say honestly, he may have had a thought of at the beginning working with me, but I know cultural wise and him being older, coming from Africa, they respect in a different way. I can't say for the younger generation. We know we're dealing with a whole different beast. But I know with him, that respect gave me the confidence from him that he looked at me as a whole person, that I'm capable, that the world needs to consider me in a way that I'm just as valuable an individual as the rest of the world. So that's how I believe and he still does to this day, give me that push and that confidence, that camaraderie of to be all of who I am.
Something, I like what you said, letting you be your whole self. And it just made me think about, because of the CDPA program and the relationship that we have developed with our PAs, just knowing that we can rely on someone also has allowed both of us to flourish in both of our careers. Like before, when I was in the traditional home care agency, I was more worried about when my next uh home care worker was going to come in. I couldn't worry about school, work, or anything else. But having that stability, I was like, right, it's time for me to start doing something other with my life than worrying about home care and my current situation. And once I had that stability, I got my first job with Fausto. I got my second job with Fausto. I got my third job with Fausto, and he was there for me when I got my license. And funny enough, that my first road test, I failed, and I was so discouraged. And he's like, "Don't worry about it. You got this. I know that you can drive." He was in the car with me while I was doing the training. He's like, "Next time, just take it easy. Think things through. Don't be as nervous," because I was nervous the first time and I failed. And he was there with me when I got my road test, when I took my second road test and got my license. So very important uh moments in my life, and he's been there for them even more so than my actual family has been.
Right, yes. Right. I totally share that sentiment. I saw Jose a few weeks ago you had posted someone in your family that uh that yeah, I don't know how long he's been in the nursing facility, and that you've the only one that's been going out to see him ever since he's been there. And that touched my heart so much because I totally get that sentiment where my grandma died in 2009, and she would come over to see me almost every day, Jose, from New Jersey. And as she got older, I had to tell her, listen, you can't be wearing yourself out. I'm fine. You've seen me achieve many things, and I miss her so much, and I always quote that song, Janet Jackson did it after the other artists don't know what you have till it's gone. And I appreciate relationships. Appreciate confidants. I like to say confidants because friends come and go, confidants stay, they hold on in your memory. And but back to when I read that what you posted, I said I totally feel that where people need to understand that people are not here forever, and you need to appreciate those relationships and how much time out of your day is it going to cost you to go visit a loved one, or that you so-called believe is a loved one, but you haven't been to visit him in 5 years.
I have a question. Like when you were speaking about your grandmother, you said, grandma, I'm fine. Was that in part because of the reliability you have with your PA? Knowing that you can rely on him as well, so that you can tell your grandma, hey, take care of yourself. I don't want you to wear yourself out.
Oh, totally. Jose, totally, because I knew I was in good hands. I knew, and yes, my grandma could not do w- with me what my worker could do with me, right? But I let her know that when Javi's here with me, you can bet I'm going to be taken care of well. But that's just that grandma thing where, oh, I want to come cook this fried chicken for you, these smothered pork chops. And I'm gonna say right now, my mouth is watering right now for it. But she would come over, and you know, I love the fact that even though she's gone, I have those memories. But to answer your question, yes, totally. It's because of the confidence I had and I still have in my workers that allows me to feel comfortable where I know I'm going to be taken care of well. And during the pandemic, I had some serious urological issues with kidney stones and blocking my uterus, and had to get a procedure done. He was there the whole time, and I know you've heard me say this before, even with all the bouts I've coped with skin breakdown and urological concerns, I have yet to be hospitalized. And I want to keep the momentum. And that's because when I go in bed, They're not scared to look at my behind. Oh, this doesn't look right. Let me take a picture. I can't tell you how one of the wound nurses I know that I have a great relationship with, I'm sure on her phone, people, if they look through it, we're like, what is this a picture of? You don't need to know. But what I'm saying is
Uh,
they're in the grind. He's been in the grind, like this doesn't look right. He listens to instruction. Well, this is what you need to look out for if this doesn't look right. I know we share a therapist in common, Lois Tucker. Lois Tucker has gotten on my back, like you need to make them look at this. You need to make them report to you. This doesn't look right. And they got the message because she would ream them out as well. You
Lois is
didn't
no
see
joke.
this? You didn't see this? So yeah, that was a long
Yeah,
way to answering your question.
yeah, I like to say this, my PA is an extension of my body, and where my body fails, they have helped me gain that ability back.
Mhm.
I may not be able to walk, but you help me get into my chair. That gives me the ability to transport myself, you know, and you give me that confidence to go out there and go to school, get a job. And so I feel you. They become extensions of ourselves.